Hello, welcome, and thank you for joining us today for this conversation about a decolonized museum for St. Paul's. We will discuss our work for the St. Paul's Museum here and facilitate your ideas and suggestions for the future of the project. So today's schedule will be introducing the team and the project. We'll also be discussing decolonization in museums, our understanding of decolonization and how museums can be decolonized. We will also present our idea for a virtual museum. We will have a 5-minute break. We will move on to talk about the physical museum that we have curated. Also discuss some costs and incomes that will be generated from the museum. And we'll finish this discussion with a Q&A and idea share. So let me introduce the team to you. We are a collective of 5 master's architecture students studying at UE who expressed interest in the topic of decolonization and have consequently been selected to run a community collaborative project to conceptualize a decolonized museum in St. Paul's. So the team is constituted of Callum, who worked with us at the beginning of the project, and also myself, Eleonore. We also have Yorgos, Anna, and Philippa. We initially started the conversation about our origins, where we are coming from, and our different countries, and we've discovered that we all have different cultural backgrounds. This initiated the conversation and the discussion about culture. So for the project brief, we were initially being given this brief by the university, so UE Bristol, that was to create a decolonized museum for St. Paul's on the Speculative Site, which is 31 and 32 Portland Square. We then developed a brief with our client Sibs, who's the director of Cognitive Paths. And we took the approach that decolonization isn't about capturing the cultural background of St. Paul's in one space. It is more of an engagement process, continuous conversation, and giving the St. Paul's community a voice to share their cultural heritage. With the COVID pandemic, we faced a lot of challenges, and that's why we have decided to digitalize all our engagement. And it also helped us reconceptualize the idea of what a museum is. So now we'll move on to talk about the context of decolonization and museums. So, decolonizing, what does it mean? The term decolonization is a term that we cannot define in one word, but more so with different actions and different aspects, such as recognizing stolen native lands, artifacts, and cultural entities and returning them to their rightful owners. So we have been looking at this museum in Nigeria made by David A.J. This museum was made to curate Benin bronze statues that were stolen from Nigeria and now being returned to their country of origins. Decolonization is also more than the material and physical entities. It needs to take place in multiple disciplines and areas in our lives, such as education, politics, but it is also something that we need to discuss in our everyday lives. What do we define as a decolonized museum? So having this conversation with the team and our clients in the community, we think it's rewriting history to come from this perspective of individuals themselves and not just a one-person representation. Giving an opportunity for the people to learn and share knowledge and connect, and also removing the non-binary way of viewing the world. So we have created this diagrams to kind of visualize the differences between these two terms. So the colonized museum being this collection of stolen artifacts being curated in a one-person point of view, whereas the decolonized museum would be a network of skill and knowledge sharing. Yes. So we have taken multiple steps towards a museum, which is the creation of a website and an application, a mobile application that we will discuss later on during the discussion. We also curate stories through postcard handouts. We try to instigate youth groups, recordings of local and global stories around the St. Paul's, implement workshops in the education sector and other sectors. We will discuss these later on in the conversation as well. Getting involved in the conversation about decolonization in museums, and conceptualize the museum as a building to evoke further conversations. Our aims are to provide support for the community and to boost the activity in the area all year round, thus to boost economy and future growth of St. Paul's, give a voice to the St. Paul's community and share their stories, have a sustainable approach to the creation of a museum, conceptualize the decolonized museum as a building, and reclaim the narrative of the cultural heritage with locals and visitors. So to achieve a sustainable museum, we have set out our drivers of sustainability, which we think are really important aspects that we need to showcase in this project, which are collaborations and partnerships, effective marketing, service offers, media interactions, and visitor user income. And all these drivers fall into our sustainable pillars, which are social, cultural, economic, and environmental sustainability. So an overview of our speculative site, so 3132 Portland Square. Portland Square is quite a powerful site, as it was a center of the slave trades, and by choosing this site, it is creating a powerful statement by reclaiming the area and giving the narrative back to the St. Paul's community. We will now move on to discuss our virtual museum.
In the context of understanding of Decolonised Museum, one of the main outputs of the project is the virtual platform, which is interactive with the local community. The main purpose is to educate and spread the knowledge of the local heritage, record the local events, stories, memories, and much more. Next. The concept was developed on the research of precedent studies, and then the concept was moved forward by the discussion and the collaboration with DigiLocal. The main outcome will be the mobile application and website. The vision is to make the interactive network of different categories such as people, culture, and place. The technical support is provided by DigiLocal, collaborating with a young group of people interested in coding and IT. The collaboration hopefully starts at the end of January or beginning of February. The design proposal was done to provide overall idea of website and mobile application in use, which you can see in the following animation.
So as Anna previously mentioned, we're hoping that collaboration and a discussion with DigiLocal and Cognitive Paths are going to sort of start the development of this app or a website for the St. Paul's community made by St. Paul's. Next. So we have a couple of ideas for the workshops. The first one would be developing the software and coding for this app. And then the other one is a sort of initiative that Cognitive Paths have sort of set up with Leon Miller, which is an idea of this pillars of the community. And we're just going to show you a video that they've produced, which is about sort of creating stronger community links with each other through celebration of people within the community. So Eleanor, if you want to play that.
Well, my name's Leon, called BS51. Started doing the artwork through going through a bit of depression, really. Losing my marriage, kids, mainly. And then from there, a guy called Felix, FLX, kind of dragged me out the ditch and said, look, Leon, this is what you can do, get on with this, blah, 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 blah. And today I do stencil artwork or big murals, freehand. Over the years, I've worked with people like Inky, doing the St. Paul's Carnival, also Love Saves the Day. The reason why I'm here today is because we've got too much tagging going on, too much name writing going on in Bristol. There's a lot of crap around this area and I want to tidy it up. And I want to start it by not just doing things that I like, I want to do things that hopefully the whole community will like as well, which turns out, hopefully the whole community have like this, otherwise it would have been trashed. I want to do something called Pillars of the Community. It started out when I saw the 7 saints, and I'm all down with that, but that's only 7 of them. I see a lot more people in this community as called pillars of the community. So, as for instance, I've got one round the corner to do, I've got Memorial Wall to do, I've got several walls to do, but we're going to need financial backing to do that. And together with guys, with some of your help and some backing, hopefully we can see some of these walls that are trashed around my community of St. Paul's and Montpellier, and we can get them making a little different and something to represent the area. The same as the 7 Saints, the same as Captain Jamaica, the same as some of the nice murals we have around here, but it's only 10%. We need a lot more of it.
So the idea with that is that people could this platform could sort of create a network. Oh shoot, I am sorry. So the idea of this is that this could be embedded into the app, and it could be a way that people can find a route through the communities, but also maybe a platform for people to maybe share other people that they think needs to have a celebration within the area, and maybe also a way of locating new potential sites to create these murals. Next. So the other workshop that we're thinking about is, it's almost like a TripAdvisor, but it's more about local knowledge, about sort of organisations as well as events or businesses that are sort of locally run. And it's more a comment based. People could maybe actually put a story related to the place that's on there, or maybe just some feedback, and it's just more about creating stronger ties within each other. This is a rough sort of PDF simple comment sheet that we've created, and that's just been developed from Cognitive Paths sort of organisation list that they have within the area, as well as doing a quick Google search around sort of businesses that are run in the area. The idea is that this will be developed on from people's knowledge, because this is more of being a desktop research that we've done ourselves at the moment. And as we don't live in St. Paul's, we don't have that knowledge of the community as much as the community itself. So the idea is this would start the basis, and then it would be added onto. Next. And then we've also been thinking about other possible workshops. We really like the idea of storytelling, and that this could somehow be incorporated. People could listen to other people's stories. Again, it could be sort of map based, linking people through the app. Another one is that there's another team that are working with cognitive paths called Ashley Green Space Network, and they're about connecting St. Paul's parks and green spaces, so we could maybe potentially do something with them. They're actually having a workshop on Thursday, and we're going to post this link in the chat, so if any of you guys are interested, that's something that you should also attend. Connecting current events that are ongoing, so Bristol Open Doors is an example that could be incorporated. Alerts on community events that are just in the area, but also maybe potentially it could navigate St. Paul's Carnival. It could help you find out which food store you want to go to, where you need to be at a certain point of the procession if you're coming late or something. So there's a whole possibility of how you could layer more community events within the app. Next. So again, this is about Ashley Green Space Network discussion. This is just their sort of poster about it. So we'll post all of their information in the comment. Next.
So we can have a 5-minute break if people need one. Otherwise, we have created this survey on slido.com. So if you'd like to use this code, if you go to slido.com and type the code #BA*, it would be great if you could answer our surveys. There will also be a suggestion tab where you can give your suggestions for the museum and further ideas. And if you have any questions as well, you can just let us know. We can have a little discussion now. Flourishing in St. Paul's. Is that Judith?
Yes.
Hi. So I'm reading your question now. So the estimated cost, we were actually going to talk about this at a later stage of the presentation, but I can send you further details through email if you'd like.
Yes.
Yes, all right. I'll take note of that.
I believe we've got your email, so I've got that down as we want to send you a bit more information. The little Slido survey, we've done this previously, and it's just to get a sort of background information about people who are coming to our events, just to help us really get a bit more information about you guys.
People been fighting for years, and then we did this project here. And my involvement in this project, because I used to work with private school, and we used to do a lot of sculptures, recycled materials, and I work on, especially on African mask, and to that we repropose it with the recycled material for school, for children, and also for adults as a kind of form of art to display and do this exhibition. Saying that, in my point of view, in terms of Decolonizing museum, I think one of the forms that can happen is a kind of form of exorcism that the people of St. Paul's can practice on the notion of the museum that we know that doesn't really resonate with people of St. Paul's, because as we discussed it, even myself, when I heard museum, I go to the museum a lot of time just to see and laugh, just to sit and laugh and say, okay, this is really interesting, but is to, how can I say this, to take ownership of that power to say, hang on a minute, this is what it is and this is not what it is. And that's what I used to do. I used to go to the museum, I take the picture, I go back home into my studio, and I remake the mask or the objects that belong to my country. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm from Yoruba land. This country possesses a lot of my ancestry heritage. So when I go, I take the picture, I reproduce them with my own form of art, recycled material, and then I bring it back to them. I say, okay, I will offer you this for free, and I want the original one to be taken back where it's from. Obviously, that is a joke. No one is going to listen to myself in any form of it. And I think this is a kind of opportunity. It's not about being arrogant or in a nasty way. It's a form of exorcism. Yeah, we need to practice exorcism on the wrong past and adjust these kind of things so we are more comfortable with the notion of this itself. So I believe if in the community a kind of workshop happen, I can do this, I can have a lot of other people do it as well, where the item can be reproduced with the recycled material and replace, trust me, the result of the artwork I'm talking about, they're really valuable and they're really amazing. It's really beautiful because it not only embraces the notion of the heritage, the meaning, the symbol, the value, the understanding of those cultures. It also tackles what we call this perverse materialism, because those objects, they won't be having any precious stone or any germ attached to them, but simply things that come from people's own, like a bead, like a piece of beans, or I don't know, a grain of corn, something similar like that. And it have the same value because at the end, we give those values to those things and they become precious because we give them those values. I will propose this kind of workshop to make this, they can be small, they can be also giant. Sieves know what I'm talking about. He know my hard work, and propose it to them, and have them in the museum. Because if it's not only because it's made by the people, but also it creates what's supposed to be in the first place, the bridge between one culture and the other. Let me tell you who I am. And then you can express your opinion, because at the end of the day, art is about point of view. You know, you read into it whatever you want to read into it, but that is for yourself. It's not like I need to sit down and you need to represent me, tell me who I am, and also talking about things that you don't even have idea. There's a lot of Yoruba items in British Museum that I don't believe they have idea what is those things are for, and the meaning of them, the value of them. It's just really brutality of the past that is just because of that is there. So I would like to propose something like this, and not only is fun, but it's something that will remain there forever. It will create a legacy. It will create a revolution that happened in a specific time, in a specific space in time, and it will remain there forever.
I think this is such. I think it's a really powerful idea and suggestion, and this should definitely be something to be done for the workshops. I really think it's as you said, it's like a very artistic way to kind of reclaim what's yours, but also make it reclaiming it, but also making it as you see it, from your perspective.
Make it available and accessible for those that might be curious, that want to learn, that want to understand what it is about, not just as a mere decorative object, because those things are not, it's not like a Gauguin or like a Picasso portrait. Those things, you know what I mean? I don't want to stay here talking about this, but it just has nothing to do with decoration. You know?
Yes.
So, yeah.
All right. Does anyone have anything else to add, or should we continue on with the presentation?
All right, so actually, as we are architecture students, we were also asked to produce the physical museum, and in terms of developing the concept of physical museum, we set up the various public engagement activities which still can be handed over in the future, and it's depending on the public involvement. First of them is the school workshop focusing on the conversation around the family heritage and a vision of museum. Next, the workshop is designed for 2 different age groups. The task for younger children uses the expression of drawing, and the questions are about the vision of museum and the family heritage. Next, and for older children, we set up the framing questions about the topic to explore more what they think about the decolonization and the museum itself. Due to COVID situation, we haven't delivered this workshop, and we are looking forward to hand over the worksheets to the community and people who are interested to get involved. So feel free to contact us and we can send it over if you want. Next. The second workshop targeted mainly the adult group, and the main goal was to involve them in the process of creating a concept for museum. The online meeting facilitated the conversation about the decolonization, and we get in touch with the key members of community. Next. The part of the online meeting was a survey as well, where we found out how great heritage is behind the community, such as the ethnical variety or multiple languages, and we also found out some interesting impulse to our process on the conceptualize the museum. Next. The last but not least engagement was the complex postcard delivery in samples area, mainly to target those who doesn't have access to technological facilities. And this type of engagement facilitated some of the conversation and spread the information about the project around the samples. Like at the end, all these inputs really shaped the concept for our proposal of physical museum. Next.
So on the physical museum, our speculative site is at 3132 Portland Square. The square used to be a center of the slave trade. The Blitz devastated Bristol, and St. Paul's area was not a priority for investors. The building left in ruins and never been renovated. Planning permission has been granted, and this is just a vehicle site to start the discussion. Next. This diagram is explaining the dominance of Portland Square, as it is a key space within the St. Paul's area. The building is a key structure within the square, and there is a restoration opportunity for the site. The empty space next to the building is an open space that can work as an interaction point between the site and the wider community. This space can be used for performances and become a key point during St. Paul's Carnival. Next. These diagrams explaining our initial approach to the physical museum. The site composition consists of the gallery space, the warehouse space, the open space next to the Victorian buildings, local interaction with views to the cemetery, backside access, and then the main facade facing Portland Square, which will be our main entrance. In terms of site extension and accessibility, we have the storage access from the side of the building, and outside an outside multifunctional structure, event space. The refurbished buildings and the warehouse space will be used for the events. Next. This is our speculative floor plans. On the ground floor, we have the higher event space, the community curated space, workshop spaces, and the information area and a cafe. And on the first floor, we have more office studio spaces and the workshop pods. Next.
So this is sort of an idea of how the site could be re-envisioned, reinterpreted. We really wanted to sort of develop a space where people could come, and it's not just the museum, there's other stuff going on, which also help people come and go into the museum. Part of the site, we were thinking it'd be great if there was almost like a stage area. We know that the carnival for St. Paul's runs through this part, so we sort of thought it'd be really fun if there was somewhere that this museum could actually be incorporated into an event, and then potential other events could also be incorporated into the sort of staging. We've sort of reimagined the building and not decided to recreate it into its sort of Georgian former aesthetic. It's more about creating links between spaces. So on to the old part of the building, it is more creating workshops, studios, sort of rentable space to people in the area to work and to work near where they live. And then the other side of it is sort of the main entrance into the whole building as itself. Next. So we sort of decided we'd like to keep the structure. It's the most sustainable way of keeping the building, and actually because it's this sort of steel beam structure at the moment, it could be developed. It's a very flexible layout, so you could develop it however you wanted. So the idea that you've got the cafe overlooking the sort of cemetery to the other side, it allows access from either areas. You would have to walk through a sort of public event hire, we've called it, but in the background you can see it says market hall. It could be a market space, an indoor market space that people can come to, and it has changing events. And then above are these ideas of little workshop pods, so people can use them, hire them, and again, it's sort of more about creating links between community, economic, sort of business side as well as the cultural side. So this is sort of a hub for that, we see it as. Next. So again, you can see the pods. We've sort of looked at, from our surveys that we've done, we had people tell us their backgrounds. So we sort of looked at different flags, and then as well we've done like a desktop research on the demographics of people living in St. Paul's. And we sort of wanted to create those colours that you see in there, but it not be so representational. So this is just a sort of fun, playful idea. And this is the first floor above the ground floor. So people could sort of, they have their own space, but then they have an area that they can sort of talk and congregate around. Next.
Sorry, I was on mute. We will now discuss costs and incomes. So for the virtual museum costs, we've done some research on how much a web and an application would cost monthly. So we can send you these information so you can have a closer look at them if you'd like. As for incomes, so the website and the applications would be used as a tourist tool as well as a local business visibility tool. So that would increase the local economy and increase cultural activities, community connections and collaborations. it will also improve the community engagement in like skill learning, knowledge sharing. Can also be a source of income, and as I said, community connections and collaborations. As for the physical museum costs, so on the right side of the screen, you can see we've listed some factors that could for that speculative site, the cost would depend on different factors that we have listed here. But obviously, there is already a planning permission granted for that site. But this could also apply for any site refurbishment that could happen in the future. Then for the initial budget, this can be provided by an anchor organization, a heritage grant, or crowdfunding. And for incomes, there would be ongoing streams of revenues, such as the cafe, that can obviously fluctuate, as, for example, right now with the pandemic, that wouldn't be working so well. But then we also have workshop studios that would be a fixed revenue, and the public hire space where we could have markets, shows that could take place, and that would be rented, and that would support the economical stability of St. Paul's. And this is the end of our presentation, so we can go into Q&A and an idea share. If anyone would like to say anything, have any questions. Any suggestions or comments about the project? Hello, Kian. I don't want to badly pronounce your name. Kian? Kian, sorry.
Yeah.
Hi, Kian. What is it in the project that you're really interested in? Because you've said that you really want to get involved.
Yeah, I'm a young person from St. Paul's area, and I've lived here all my life, and my grandparents have lived here, and I'm an artist as well, so I do like things like graphic design and painting, and I've also got many ideas myself on like how I would like St. Paul's to be, and also just I feel like I can also offer a lot of creative like ideas to your project, and it's something that I would like to be involved in and be a part of the journey, if that's all right. But yeah, I can send you through work, and we can talk over emails and stuff like that, or meet up.
Yeah, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's all right. How would I be able to get in contact with you further after this, and maybe talk over ideas and things like that?
So for right now, we have the Slido where you can add suggestions.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we have this email address, placemaking@cognitivepath.co.uk.
Yeah. I also, I know Sibs, by the way, as well.
Oh, great.
And I was involved with the thing with Leon Miller, with the 7, the pillars of the community as well. I filmed that. So yeah, just to let you know.
Thank you so much.
To connect the dots on it. But yeah, okay. I'll get in contact with you through that email there, and yeah.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant, that would be amazing. Olu, I think you had something.
Sorry?
So I'm just going to take a picture of the page quickly.
Yeah, that's great. You can do that.
Olu, you have your hand up.
Well, I think Ken already asked the same question. I was just wondering what are the process to get involved eventually. So I think you already answered the question.
Oh yes, so I can actually copy the address in the chat so that it's available to everyone.
Sure. Eleanor,
Yes.
do you mind just to stop the sharing? Or is that...
Yes.
Yeah, just for a minute.
Yeah, I can stop.
Yeah, great, thank you. I guess in terms of how to get involved, that's really the most important thing right now. So this project forms part of a subgroup within the neighborhood plan. And when we're looking at a neighborhood plan, in order for it to have influence around the Ashley ward, it needs to have 21 residents. And that's the split between people that run a business in the area, people that live in the area, and people that work in the area. So since St. Paul's Unlimited, which is going back about 5 years, stopped, there really hasn't been a core group. So the different projects, like the museum and like the parks, are all different access points for different people to get involved based on the things that they are interested in. Currently, we've just been facilitating it as cognitive parts, but our aspiration would be that it becomes a separate organization with those different strands as parks or museum, and everything else that would be in planning. The planning group, which there is already, is currently chaired by Councillor Mike. I'll be with you in a minute. Okay? It's currently chaired by Councillor Mike, as someone who's supporting with the neighborhood plan. So how to get involved? Please send us the email. I will activate that email. Actually, I haven't yet activated it, but I'll activate the email tonight. So don't send me the email tonight, tomorrow. I'll activate that email, and then from there, we'll just start the conversation going. Once again, as the team mentioned, our next discussion is on Thursday, looking at parks, and then we'll be finding some other people that are interested in getting involved. Our main intention with this is that it's community-led, and we really would like those that are interested in getting involved, whatever your capacity is, to get involved, because once we have that neighborhood group, we then have the influence of, applying for the still money with all the different buildings that's going on around here, the social value that these different sites are meant to be doing, holding them accounts, different people doing different roles, we can income generate, and all these projects will be able to come through, whether it's us, council, or whatever. Currently, our organization is focused on something else. We're just facilitating this, so that's why we don't want to apply for grants under the neighborhood plan, because it would just mix up what we do. So we'd really like you to get involved as much as possible, so we can make the place, great and accessible for everybody that chooses to. So I hope that helps. And thank you very much to the students, and thank you very much for dedicating your evening to participating in this discussion.
Barbara, you have a question? Or you've got your hand up?
I can't hear Barbara.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Okay. Now?
It's echoing.
Can you hear me?
You're just very, very quiet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're better now.
Yeah. Better, okay. I had it. Better. Oh, I'm probably better now. Yep.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, okay. It's just an inquiry that I'm aware that the majority of you are MA architecture students, and this is a kind of massive project potentially. So what's your feeling about engagement in the long term? Because, it's going to take years to actually potentially get this physical building going. So how are you going to be, what's going to happen in the long term?
Sure. So we're working in partnership with Black Southwest Network, a NANCA organisation based within the Ashley ward, but focused on the Southwest. And as they've just recently acquired a community assets, the old Brave building, the coach house, they will be running a small museum space within that, but also they'll be coordinating and supporting us with developing the neighborhood plan with more capacity, working with Power to Change, working with locality also, which kind of gives the neighborhood plan a bit more stability than what it's currently have. I mean, we've never been funded to do any of these projects. Plus work with the students because there's no funding involved, just coordination. But we need to move away from that model and be able to get or pay for facilitators on the different steering groups to be able to do the parks, to be able to do the museum, to be able to do the, whatever other group is necessary to coordinate services and activities within the area. That's what we'll be doing. So long term, it's more about partnership with other local organizations and linking up with funders, of which PSWN has already started on that journey with Power to Change and locality. I think they've got a project called Placemaking or something. And currently I'm working with Social Enterprise UK, who have got a place-making program. And that mainly is around supporting social enterprises to get into procurement and so forth, and also social value. So looking at procurement in the most widest way possible. And all of that is to bring sustainability to placemaking. We've already spoken to City Council's economic development teams and their procurement teams to understand how they're implementing the social value policy. I mean, we already know how they do the SIL, but SIL is just one element of this whole jigsaw. Now we're talking about social value and how they support local organizations in one way or another. And that's our long-term strategy. And it's just a pity that, there's about 7 different sites in St. Paul's now. And when we think about the social value of those organizations, either in funds or in supporting apprenticeships or whatever, we just don't see it. So for us, we've been chasing up in that way to find ways to make the placemaking or the neighborhood plan sustainable and kind of lasting, so we can have some strategy in the neighborhood. There isn't St. Paul's one of the few areas that doesn't have a neighborhood plan compared to other areas in the Southwest. And you also hear that from the Parks project. It doesn't have a coordinated parks, So the neighborhood plan kind of deals with a lot of these issues. So we're hoping to address them. I hope that answers your question.
Well, to some extent, yes. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions or suggestions?
Does anybody have any questions regarding the physicality of a museum and what they would really like to see out of it? Because in our previous discussions, because there was sort of more of a leaning to having an immediate sort of museum in the form of an app, we've not really had as much discussion on the physical side of a museum. So does anybody have any questions regarding that or any feeling about that?
I think it'd be great. It's just massive.
Yeah, the site is also quite big, the one we've been given as a speculative, but dream big about these sort of ideas. Ollie, you've got your hand up again.
What's the current situation of the building at the moment?
It's got planning permission to be turned into mass student accommodation.
Inside now at the moment, inside.
What the condition?
Yeah, you can.
We have been unable to get in there. We found plans and sections that we've sort of created those images from, but it's all completely boarded up, so we don't even know what the condition is.
you say that they have the plan to build student accommodation. So if there is already a plan to build a student accommodation, why are we having this conversation?
Well, we've been looking at it as it's a really prominent space. It would be amazing if it didn't have planning permission, but as an idea of it being a vehicle. So we're sort of creating and developing ideas of what a physical museum could look like and how it could be organised and how you'd curate the spaces and what parts of those spaces would be. So we sort of used it more as a shell in order to think about what you'd want out of that building. And potentially this idea is like, it's a massive space that we were given to design, but it could be that in the future you've got enough funding and you can buy, or you procure quite a small sort of building, but you could put one of these aspects into that, and you could almost make a satellite museum based around all these different ideas. Or you might be lucky enough to find a site that does have a sort of space that could facilitate all of this. So that's the way we've been looking at it. Not that this is going to be on this site one day in the future, more that this could be in St. Paul's. And these are ideas that you guys can take and think about.
Just using that building as an idea of a potential project that can happen in the future.
Yeah, and more what you would want out of a decolonised museum.
That is very cool, guys. That's really, really cool.
I think Olu's absolutely right. It needs to be absolutely clear that this is an idea that's coming from MA architecture students. St. Paul's has been offered so much in the past, and ideas thrown at it and money thrown at it and then withdrawn. People like he's trying to create stuff for the area and for his, let's face it, for his income.
Wow.
So, it needs to be, it's a great idea, but you need to make it absolutely clear in everything that you put out that this is a concept, an idea. Because it's going to cost millions. And it's not, let's get a bit real, please.
Barbara, can I ask you? You say something that caught my attention there, like a magic lamp. You said that to St. Paul's, money has been thrown into St. Paul's to do something, and they didn't do anything, then withdrawn.
Yeah, I've lived here for like 40, 50 years. So there's a riot, money gets thrown in, a building goes up, and then it withdraws. And
why the people of the St. Paul's? Because I am one of those people that is fighting a battle for Portland Square. That the Portland Square needs to be claimed by the community. I run a business in St. Paul's. I'm trying to convince the Bristol City Council to allow us to use that park only, because if we are there, then all these big money maker people, they won't come. They will feel uncomfortable. But the fact that we are not there, that gives them opportunity to do it. But saying that, I find it really, it's like a Chinese box. Another fantasy inside fantasy, that money has been thrown into St. Paul's. The St. Paul people did not take that money and then withdrawn it. Thrown it to who? Who did they throw money to? Because I'm engaging with different organizations, small and big in St. Paul's. They haven't seen any of that money.
I agree totally. Things like the Learning Centre, when that went up, and then that was under Bristol City Council. Then I think you might have worked there. I think I might know your work. And then now it's self-funding, various housing schemes, and then no, it doesn't. And talking about things like workspace for great idea. In this museum, workshops. There used to be workshops in Winkworth Place that were affordable. They redesigned Winkworth Place. They moved them down to St Agnes Park. They were not affordable, and they didn't want any noise there. So now, people need a workspace that is affordable. Freelance artists or whatever, artisans, makers. It's.
Well, I think then, guys, what we need to be doing is not to discuss fantasy. Then We need to be discussing strategy to change the wheel, to change the direction of the wheel.
And this is how it works, on the basis that, as I said, to influence any of the planning and parks or any of these things, it needs to have a legal neighborhood plan. And because the area doesn't have an updated neighborhood plan, nor does it have 21 people, it therefore doesn't get heard. Or equally, there's no facilitator in the neighborhood to protect from any of these things happening. Okay? So, and the challenge is why it doesn't really happen also, as I'm saying. Now, you can understand it. I'll just put myself into it, right? So I am volunteering to coordinate the neighborhood plan. No one pays me for my time to coordinate the neighborhood plan. I don't raise grants for this because it's not part of what our company does. But how many other people would volunteer their time for 3 years to do a neighborhood plan and be involved in it, right? Okay? So the neighborhood plan at times also requires a lot of voluntary capacity to actually get it to run. I'll give you a conversation that we've just had around land and community land transfer. So there's community asset transfer, there's also community land transfer. The community land transfer, City Council has already approved the bill to pass land. Areas like South Mead Development Trust are areas that have just been granted land. There isn't much land in St. Paul's in that way because it's already occupied in some way or another. But the conversation is, if there was a group of people that would come together, and I'm saying this because that's what they've asked us to do, if a group wants to come together, to be involved in asset land transfer at a value of £1, whatever the square meters is, but to volunteer within that will be something between 1 to 2 years. People in South Mead Development Trust have done that. That's now they've got the land. They've got a building company to put the properties in there, which they are renting the land from that organization, right? But some people had to volunteer within it. Some people got paid within it, but it met the criteria. So those things are equally possible. But so far, in the call for the last 3 years, it's really hard to get the committed volunteers to help move this process along, okay? So I hear all the pains, and thus we are saying we see all the pains, and we're trying to find ways to address it. But we can't do it alone as an organization. We really can't. In fact, my team is not even involved in this process. It's just me. We really can't. But when we have additional capacity, we can make it work. Leon Miller's video was what we did with Gary through Black History Month to highlight these issues. You know what I mean? So using a different project to highlight a different need for something else. But the planning part is not that easy. This is a consultation that feeds into the neighborhood plan to justify why it's community involved, why there's a voice, why it needs to be a legal vehicle. If we don't do the consultations and do the community engagement and have proof for that, then it doesn't count. So this is part of the process, unfortunately.
Barbara, where you standing with all of this? Barbara?
Hello, yes, sorry.
You say you've been here for donkey years.
Yes.
40 years. Where are you standing with all of this? Don't you feel sick?
Where am I standing? That's a good question. I feel that I've been involved in community development and projects, and I'm still working as a freelance artist, but I feel I need to kind of actually disappear and hand it over to... I'm not involved anymore. It's kind of your... It's your life now. It's not
here. Before you disappear, Barbara,
I'm not disappearing.
Yourself.
Sorry?
Before you disappear, as you just said, I would like you to materialize yourself.
Okay. I'm still working. I'm still around.
Okay. All right.
I'm still a lot involved in kind of freelance work.
Give me the opportunity to cry.
Sorry?
I want to start a fight now.
No, it's yeah. I'm not disappearing, but it's your story now.
Yeah, and I'd say it's been so fortunate that whilst the park team have been involved, there's been those opportunities for the funded projects up to 40,000, and that's just like North Star just landing on us at the perfect time, because what that does is it moves the consultation or community engagement, conversations, people's thoughts and ideas into something that's got potential funding, which can be done. And then now we're just hoping for people's votes. If we receive that money, then people can actually deliver those projects and it actually happens. Fantastic, right? That's just like perfect timing. And that's what we kind of hope for certain things. So even the concept about the museum, as we run Bristol Black History Month, we can see ways in which we can try and make certain parts of it work, whilst maybe BSWN does certain parts of it, until we can bring these jigsaw puzzles together for capital funding to do X, Y, and Z. But it will need the people's voice and the people's consultation and the people's agreements on whatever that end product looks like. Okay, so vote for the parks projects. Is information presumably going to be circulated to people that have come to this meeting? Yes. You'll get the presentation, the video, but we're not going to share everyone's email on that. If people say you'd like to find out other people's emails, just let us know and we'll see if they'd like to do that. But yes, we will share this. And additionally with the parks, it will be on our website. So you can see the videos and not the YouTube, will be on the YouTube. So the videos will be on the YouTube and the presentations will be on the website.
Barbara, can I have your contact details, please?
Yeah, is there, I don't know about this. Yeah, I'll put it into whatever's the equivalent to the chat room. I'm not familiar with this thing, but I guess it's the same.
It's the little conversation button at the top.
A conversation, so I can do a private.
It should you could just post it on the group bit, and then it will be hidden from the recording.
Okay. I've got a new email, so I've got to remember what it is. Because I'm so old. Okay, I think that's okay. All right, I'll put it up then.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
I'm on.
Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, yes. I was going to say thank you everyone for coming. We have left you the email address in the chat if you need to make any other suggestions or give ideas about workshops. Also, there is the link for the parks meeting on Thursday. Don't hesitate to go and have a look at their work. Any other suggestions you can think of, go to the Slido website, #BA*, and add any suggestions that might be useful. And I hope you all have a good evening.
Great, thank you. And I will activate the placemaking email tonight, so you can send emails to that one. But thank you very much for getting involved. We look forward to... yes, Nick?
No, I'm just saying thank you very much.
Bless, Nick. Thank you very much for attending, mate.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Have a good evening. Bye.
Have a nice evening, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you.
Team, can you just stay on for a bit?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you, Anne.
Thank you, Anne, for
Thanks,
coming.
Anne. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is it just us now?
No,
No, this is not good.
a couple more people. There should be a leave button at the top. Oh, he's left.
I'll be in touch, Kian. Oh, don't kick me out, or you kicked out my phone.
There we go.
Just cleaning up the chat.
I just...
I didn't know my name saying you've left the conversation.
There we go. That's just us now. There's no one else in here.
Yeah.
There we go. Right.